acronyms are important because there are some people, a lot of people, especially young people, who don't know where they fit in the world. And if it's just LGBT, then they can easily say, I don't fit into that, but I know I'm different. And so I think it's so important that we expand the definition of being all-encompassing so that these people who are questioning, who aren't certain, can look at that and say, no, I'm not that, but I am that. I can relate to that. And then they're part of a community.
Most people are familiar with LGBTQ. The Q was added on, I think, maybe 10, 15 years ago to include queer questioning. But more recently, the acronym has definitely expanded to include LGBTQIA2S+. And those last few are ones that people may not be as familiar with. So it's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning. The I stands for intersex, which is a condition that people are born with where they have ambiguous genitalia or ambiguous chromosomes, and it's a lot more common than people think. A stands for asexual, and there is a whole spectrum of asexuality, but it is considered its own defined separate sexuality, and including that, I think, has been really validating and affirming for a lot of people who felt like they didn't really have a place on the queer spectrum. And 2S stands for Two-Spirit, which is a specifically Indigenous or First Peoples term. So there's male, female, and then Two-Spirit is kind of an in-between space that is often considered as, sacred, honored, a holder of certain knowledge. And the plus at the end of the acronym often is included to make sure that we have some space for people whose identities maybe don't fall under the LGBTQIA2S. And, our understanding of gender, our understanding of attraction and relationships is always expanding, always changing, and I think that it's important to leave room for people who maybe don't fit exactly in some of those categories.
If we don't have the language and the words for what we're feeling, who we are, it's hard to get to that place. It's hard to find your community. It's hard to find resources.
I think as more and more people have these conversations and start understanding how they fit within the spectrum or don't fit within the spectrum, it becomes increasingly inclusive. In my own experience, I didn't know that I identified as pansexual until I knew what the word meant, right? I didn't know that trans people were a thing until I learned what the word meant, even though there were a couple of trans people in my life. I didn't have the language for it. I wasn't able to understand it, in part because I didn't have the language for it.
And now with the advent of social media, the internet, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, there are a zillion and one ways to reach out and connect with people who can share your experiences, who can sympathize, who can empathize, and who you are not going to have to explain yourself to. They're people who have walked that path, been in your shoes, and are willing to reach down and give you a hand up just like they received one at some point in their journey.